Okay, so if you don't know who I am, my name is Meredith, and I am really loud, but I don't know if I'm that loud. My name is Meredith. I'm the next generation pastor here, so if you haven't met me, I would love to meet you. So I work with our kids, and they are just a joy to have. So we've been talking about This Is Us, and we've been going through different areas of our church and what we do and what we have offered that makes us up, right? That makes us a church. And so whenever Greg said that I needed to do a children's message, I was like, can I just do a complete children's service in church, right? So the singing, the dancing, the jumping, the crafts, everything. Well, I knocked out craft time, we don't want to get glue in the carpet over here, and, we won't do any snacks. It's not offering Sunday, or it's not. So, but I am going to do a few icebreakers. Now, you don't have to get up, or you don't have to get in a group or anything. I'm just going to ask you some questions so that you guys can think about these. And they're silly, so just get prepared. Are you ready? So, would you rather eat hot dogs or pizza for the rest of your life? Pizza? We got a pizza? Okay. Yep. Okay. Would you rather, this is more of an adult question, would you rather have a movie made about your life before 21 or after 21? Would you rather be a stand-up comedian or a concert pianist? Okay. Would you rather swim in shark-infested waters or free fall with a parachute into the Grand Canyon? I don't know. I think I'd rather swim with a shark. Oof. Okay. Would you rather win an Olympic gold medal or an Academy Award? I think I'm an Academy Award kind of girl. Would you rather have stitches or a tooth pulled? I've never had stitches, but I don't think either sounds that great. Okay, so this is my last question for you. If you had to pick someone to have dinner with for the rest of your life, who would it be? Now, it could be a president, it could be a celebrity, right? I mean, I'm a fan of a lot of celebrities. You know me very well, you know that. It could be somebody in history, an historical figure, maybe someone that's passed. So I want you to think about who you would have dinner with, okay? And I asked our kids the same question, and we're going to see what they had to say.
My friends and family. My friends and my family. My whole family and all my friends. My mom and dad. My grandma. My auntie and my mama, my papa, and my nana. Hunter, my cousin, and my family. With my family and my friend Turner. My family and my best friend. My family and Kevin Durant. Daddy's and my family. My friends and my family and Miss Meredith.
Okay, so that wasn't all of our kids. We've had kids off and on all summer, so I tried to get as many as I could get them in there. So I don't know who you said. I know my gut instinct would have been to say a celebrity, to be honest with you. I don't know if I would have chosen my friends or my family, if I'm just being honest. But if we look at what our kids say, they want to eat dinner with us, right? They don't want to eat dinner with who's on TV, except we had one that said also Kevin Durant. So for the most part, they want to be with us. They don't care about all the extra stuff, right? So we're going to come back to kind of a few things about what that means. And first, I'm going to share a little bit today, just to line up what I'm talking about. We're going to talk about our different areas in the kids ministry, what we do there, what our goal is, and then I'm going to share how you can help to be the best it can be. So a few things about our kids ministry. In our kids ministry, we want it to be about heart transformation, not behavior modification. We want it to be kingdom expanding, not ministry building. We want it to be culture shaping and not culture shaped. That's just some personal goals of mine, and I know that my team's on the same page as far as that goes. So we start off, obviously, and I have a lot of people who serve in our kids ministry in here today, and we start off with our tiniest, right, in our nursery, and here they get to use to our church setup, and they get some time away from mom and dad, so mom and dad can go to class too. They get used to this class setting, they get used to being with volunteers, and it's really an essential part. Our nursery is an essential part to starting the church culture at an early age. I don't know, there's several of you who have been back there, but if you haven't gone to see all of the stuff that we've started doing back there, it's we've really done some cool things, and we have a whole different section for our littles, and then we have our toddlers have another area to run around. So it's a really awesome thing back there. I hope you guys all go look. So the next group we have is our preschool. They have their own class on Sundays and Wednesdays. In those classes, we teach our Bible basics on their level, right? The core things that they need. So our 3 things that every time we have one that moves up, every time that this group leaves from our pre-K into our elementary, we want them to leave knowing these 3 truths. God made me, God loves me, and Jesus wants to be my friend forever. And I'm going to take it a step further and say that we as a church love them, and we also want to be there for them forever, right? So then they head out into our elementary age class, right? And there we're starting to learn how we paint scriptures on our hearts, how we use our Bibles, what to do with them. They learn how to participate in discussion, and how they can talk about Jesus and church, and kind of a little bit it's more in our preteen ministry, but they learn how to do that in school, how they're going to take Jesus into school. So when they leave, before they go into our group 56, the 3 things that we hope that they take away is that I should make the wise choice, I should treat others the way I want to be treated, and I can trust God no matter what. We, as a team and as a church, we wholeheartedly believe that those things are vital as they continue on in their walk. So then we get to group 56, right, our 5th and 6th graders, our preteen ministry, and there they really dive into the real life topics and situations. They're learning how to take notes in church, how to do a devotion, how to have a quiet time, how they can take their faith for sure to school, to home, to awkward situations. They have a lot of fun in that group. They're a lot of fun in that age. And so we really do our best to help shape and mold them and get them ready as they go into our youth group. And then, of course, we have Sunday school classes, and that starts at 9:30 on Sundays. And so if you don't join us for Sunday school, we'd love to have you. I couldn't be more thankful for my leaders and my volunteers and my teachers who work on Sunday. They never get to go to class. They always are in their classrooms waiting for kids at 9:30, so they never get to go to Sunday school. And I can't tell you how big of a sacrifice that is, and how amazing, and how they constantly pour into our kids. They spoil them. If you ever see them come down the hallway, they always have gifts and all sorts of things in their hands, and balloons and everything. So they get spoiled down there. So I just want to throw out that I'm very thankful for our volunteers, whether they're weekly, monthly, whether they only serve once a year, whatever it might be. I could not do it without you. It blesses me as a leader a lot. So I'm going to go ahead and talk a few minutes about the importance of volunteers and families in our church, which I'm sure all of you are well aware of that. As a church, we're a family. We're not just people who come sit in a building. We're not just people who go to class together. We're a family. So growing up, I had one children's pastor, and I had 2 youth pastors, okay? Obviously, I had a senior pastor, but I'm talking about direct influence over me and my walk that's one children's pastor, 2 different youth pastors. So that's only 3 people. However, the list of people who were volunteers, who were different families in our church, and that's not even counting my family. We're not even counting my family. We're just counting people who didn't really have to do anything for me. They sought me out. That list is a lot longer than 3 people. It's a lot longer than the list of pastors. It's a lot longer than my Sunday school teacher even. But the grandmother in the kitchen during VBS week who let me skip out on games so I could eat popsicles and talk about what I learned that week, she's on the list of people who invested in me, right? Because if you know me very well, you know that I do not want to go outside and play games. The 2 young married couples who hung out in the youth group just to hang out and have fun and play ping pong, they're on that list. The parents of the popular kid in the youth group who held our fall cookout in their backyard, right? They're on that list. There was these 3 moms who always held a girls' Bible study on Sunday afternoons for an hour, and they're on that list. the college kids who came back for lock-ins, the high school girl who would take my friends and I out after church when we were in junior high, and she would talk about how Jesus in high school really worked. The camp counselor who inspired me to one day go back and work at the same camp. The camp directors who spoke life over me in the direction ministry before I even knew that that's where I was going. The young adult who led my high school small group, who I still talk to today, even though I graduated 5 years ago. I know that if I needed to, I could go home, sit on her couch, eat no-bake cookies, and cry. She's on that list. The dad who drove the church van to Christian concerts. The guy in the band who would come to church an hour early every Wednesday, and he would practice guitar with me before worship because he knew that I was way too nervous to go up there just right at time. These are lists of leaders who did not have to do any of that for me, right? They're not pastors. They're not my parents. Now, my parents did great, and I'll get into that, but they're not my family members, but they're my church family members. And that list is much longer than my list of pastors. But I did always watch my parents. My parents, we always went to church. They always volunteered. They were ushering and greeting. And my mom, she's a preschool director right now, but she has taught every grade from preschool to college. So she knows a lot about kids. Let me just tell you that. So if I ever have any questions, I always just, Mom. So they would, my parents would bake the cookies for the luau party, and they would host the Bible study at the house. And I saw them serving in church and from a young age, and that propelled me to where I am now, right? My mom she would always do the Bible story in the kids ministry. The way they had it set up is they would have their different classes, and they all came together for worship and Bible story. And one weekend, I was 13, and they needed somebody else who could do the worship part. Somebody couldn't be there, and I was already at church, so I was in choir. I could, I can keep a tune a little bit, and I could, do the dance moves. And so I went up there with my boombox, right? I don't know if anybody even knows what that is. I went up with my boombox, and I pressed play, and I did my motions, right? And then it went from, I'm just filling in to, I'll serve with my mom, every 3 months whenever it's her turn, to, my mom can't be here this Sunday. I guess I'll do the worship and the Bible story, to, I already know how to do that, and I know the kids pretty well. I guess I will, I can teach my own class, right? So this is all working from 13 up until I'm 18, right? So it goes by, and every 3 months, that was the rotation. It was every 3 months, my mom and I would be a group that would serve. And so next thing I know, it's a week after graduation, and I get a call from our children's pastor who says, we're looking for a summer intern, would you be interested? And I was thinking, absolutely. I had tried to apply at a few different places, and I didn't get the job, obviously. And so I was like, sure, it's just for a summer, and I'd actually planned on going off to college in the fall. And so I went in the next week, and I started my job, and I went home that night, and I thought, I don't think I'm going to college in the fall. I'm going to stay here and go to college and stay here. And so I stayed at home and went to a college in town, and what went from supposed to be a 2-month summer internship went from a 2.5-year internship. And if it hadn't been for my parents and my mom being involved and being a role model, I would have never had the opportunity to be involved. I would have never had the opportunity for God to say, here's where you're going. You think you're going to be an English major. You're not. And so I say all that to say our kids are watching us, right? And as parents, you know that. And I know some of you may be thinking, you don't have kids, you don't have any clue. I have all of your kids on Sunday. So so instead of having, a kid or two, I have about 30, right? So they see and they hear and they repeat. Everybody knows that. It could be a good thing and it could be not so good thing, right? We all know some things that our kids probably repeated that they may not should have. So whatever you make a priority, they see what your priority is, right? Whether that's family dinners, visits with grandparents, whether that's school, maybe our priorities are sports. Whatever it is, they see that. Like I said, I don't know who you said that you wanted to have dinner with, but our kids want to have dinner with us. I saw something on Facebook recently. It was a post from a mom I didn't know. It was shared. And she said that she put her phone down, and some of you may have seen this. It might have been one of you that shared it. But she put her phone down, and she tallied up how many times her kids asked for her attention. How many times her kids said, "Mom?" 18 times over the course of just a short amount of time. They asked for her attention. And she said in that moment she realized that if she'd been looking at her phone, that would be 18 times that her kids thought that they weren't important, or 18 times that they thought that the phone was more important, or 18 times that they weren't enough, that they weren't valuable, that they weren't entertaining, that they weren't wanted. And maybe that's a little deep, obviously. I mean, not every kid is going to immediately go there, but over a course of time, it's very likely that that could be true. Our kids are a lot smarter than we give them credit for. They're not the future. They're right now. They're not our future leaders. They lead now, right? I can pick them out in the class. I have them leading other kids, right? The questions they ask would astound you. And I mean, I know that's my job, but I don't always have the answer. A few questions that they've asked me before. Why does God let war happen? When I go to heaven, will I become an angel? My teacher says science is right, but my church says the Bible is right, so does that mean my teachers are wrong? What about people who don't go to church? Do they not get to go to heaven? Well, is hell a bad word? Because we're not allowed to say that at my house, but we just did it in our lesson. So is that a bad word? And then the biggest one that I always get, is God here, right now? They always ask that. And the answer is always yes, right? God's invited here all the time. I'm going to be really honest and tell you guys that it keeps me up at night knowing that I only have max 3 hours a week with your kids. If that's one Wednesday night hour, if they come to Sunday school, and if they come to service, right? That's 3 hours a week. Sometimes it's only 2. Sometimes it's only 1. Sometimes it might be less than that. But I will tell you, I lose sleep. It bothers me that I have about the equivalent of one morning at school, let's say from 8 to 11, right? That's 3 hours. One morning at school is the equivalent of what I have during a week with your children. And it keeps me up. And maybe some of you lose sleep over that too. Maybe it keeps you up at night. And so my question for you is, how are we going to get our sleep back? So I'm about to tell you a statistic. Well, it's not a statistic, it's a fact, actually. And it might get some tears, it might pull at the heartstrings of a few people. But from the time your child is born till the time they turn 18, you have 936 Sundays. Not 1,000, not 950, not even 940. You have 936 Sundays. 260 of those Sundays are gone before their 5th birthday. I don't even have kids, and that stresses me out. But here's the catch. Here's the catch in that. Not only do you have 936 Sundays, you also have 936 Mondays and Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, and so on. You have all of that time, right? There's a lot more time out of the church than it is into the church, right? I only have the 3 hours a week. Y'all have every other hour. I don't have time with your kids that you do, and that's why it is so important for our parents and our families to be involved, because you have, as a parent, as a family friend, as a grandparent, as an aunt or uncle, you have a bigger influence than I do. You have a bigger influence than the church does. And that's why I want to partner with you, I want to walk alongside with you, but there's only so much that I can do, and there's a lot that you can do. And I'm not a parent, and I know that, but I've heard a lot about parenting. I am around mothers a lot, and sometimes I learn things that I don't really want to know. I just block my ears and walk away. But I know that the days are long. I know that even the minutes can feel long sometimes. Trust me, I have 60 minutes, some of those minutes are long back there. But here's the thing is that our years are short. I thought I would be a kid forever, thought I would always be a child, but here I am. And the 18 years where they are kids is a lot shorter than the rest of their lives. I pray every week that when your kids leave my class that you ask them in the car before you go to lunch what they've learned. I pray that you pray with them before dinner and bedtime, and maybe as you take them to school in the morning, even though it's crazy and hectic and they only have one shoe on, I pray that you pray. I pray that they know that you value the church. Not just me, not just Greg or Miranda, that they know that you value it too, that you know that it's important. I pray for your households, and I pray for your kids, and I pray for you as parents constantly, because I'm only one pastor, but you are their parents. And it's not just for parents, right? Like I said, I have a long list of people who weren't even my family that still invested in me. In Matthew 19:14, it says, "Let the little children come to me. Don't stop them." So Jesus wants them. He loves them. And he loves the questions and the chaos and the messiness and the wonky crafts. He loves them all. You know, they bring a craft home and you have no clue what it's supposed to be. He wants it. How many times do we stop our own kids? How many times do we stand in their way because we've let something that should be a priority maybe sit on the back burner? And it's not to make you feel guilty for the minutes you can't spare or for the moments that are lost, even though you've tried. And I hate to even say this, but the only thing that you and me and everybody else should only feel guilt for is not trying. The best way to spend your limited amount of Sundays is by making yourself available, and that means at home and at church. And now some of you are probably thinking, I'm not in a good place to be used. That's the title of the sermon, was being used. I'm not in a good place to be used, right? I got to get this ironed out. I got to get through the next month or the next 6 months. I got to get through this thing at work, right? I got to let me get past this holiday and then I'll be available, right? And I have to laugh at whenever I'm a bookstore junkie, but when you go in a bookstore and there's this section called self-help, right? I have to laugh because how are ourselves supposed to help ourselves when ourselves is what got us into the mess in the first place, usually, right? We're usually the one who got into messiness. So I have to wonder how that really works. But Jesus, thankfully, is our serious helper, right? He has his own section. He doesn't even have to go to a book. He doesn't have to go to anything because the only thing he needs is our need, right? He doesn't need anything else. And he wants to use you. He doesn't want you to be fixed and then use you. He doesn't want you to get something ironed out and then use you. He doesn't want to get you lined out and use you. No, he wants to use you now. Sometimes we think of being used as a bad thing, right? And sometimes that's true. It's not always a great thing. However, there's a satisfaction when you lay down at night and think, today I was used by God. And that's the best kind of being used that there is. Here's the kicker. You can't wait, okay? Like I said, we want to wait. We see that a lot more in teens, right? They want to do it later. But it happens with adults too. Maybe it's over something specific, right? We want to wait. You can't wait to be available for your kids at home. You can't wait to be available for your kids at church. You can't say, oh, God is going to fix my issues and then I'll serve, and then I'll be available. Here's the thing I want you to think about. If you're taking notes, I want you to write this down. God is not a microwave. God is an oven. So if you try to sit in a microwave and say, I'm going to get it together, getting it together doesn't happen overnight. And if you try to sit in a microwave to get fixed or get ironed out or for God to figure out what he's going to do, God can't move. A microwave isn't that big, right? God can't sit also with you in the microwave, and he doesn't have room to grow and expand, and he doesn't have the room in the microwave. However, in an oven, right, there's a lot of room, but you can't get caught into thinking, well, I'm going to sit in this oven, I'm going to be warm and toasty, I'm just going to sit here while God works and cleanses and prunes me, right, and get all comfy, because I like to get comfy. If you know me, I'm a comfort person, so I would like to sit in a warm oven and stay comfy too. But while you're sitting warm in a comfy oven, your 936 Sundays are dwindling. But luckily, if you sit in the oven and God can come and move you this way and put family time here and church time here, and he can make room for all of your things while he's still fixing your issue, while he's still using you, while he's still pruning you. He can do that all within the warm and toasty oven if you let him. You can't just say, well, I'm going to sit in this oven and then just wait, right? You got to let him move you around and let him fit other things. You have to let him use you. So I'm going to ask if a couple of our ushers would go to the back, and if our kids want to go back there and help them hand things out, they're going to hand you a piece of paper. And on that piece of paper, there's some needs that we have in our kids' ministry. And I'm also going to invite the band to come on up too. If you're looking for a sign from God to tell you how to use your time, how to make a real difference in this world, this is your sign. And that is to be available at home and invest in your kids on their level at church. Because their time is now. Today is Sunday. That's one of the Sundays, right? One of your 936 Sundays. And so my question for you is, how will you be spending the rest of yours? How will you be spending the rest of your Sundays? And maybe it's not your kid. Maybe it's a friend. Maybe it's just somebody that when that smiling face with wide eyes comes through the doors, it brings you joy. I don't know what it is. I don't know which one it is. I don't know who it is. But there is a place for you to invest in our kids, whether that be at home or whether that be here. We have a ton of places that you can be, and we want you to be a part of the team. So they're going to come around and they're going to be passing things out for you. And there's a pencil in those buckets, and there's a piece of paper. And if God's told you something or pulled at your heartstrings, I don't know what it is. But I pray that you maybe consider something. And if you need to call me at the church office or talk to me after, I'll do that too. So while they're handing that out, I'm going to go ahead and pray for us.